Here we are. The jungle shop is receiving a color change to differentiate it from another existing effect further. I did notice that. It was a little hard to see. I did see that. Yeah, I think Smite Duel gets pretty stagnant because, like, at the end of the day, 1v1 is... You're going to see character diversity in 5v5 modes, even in 3v3 modes, because the composition is different. If the enemy picks a Wheelish, I'm not going to love picking on her, even if he's the best character. I'm going to look for a character that has movement speed or a dash that doesn't leave the ground. If I'm not playing against the Wheelish, all of a sudden that changes, right? Every single, like, in my mind, I'm playing Guess Who when the draft is going on. All the gods are selectable. And then the first pick, all right, they picked Ymir. I have my group of gods. I then put characters that can jump over walls in the good column, and I put characters get really cucked by walls. I just flip them down. And then in the middle, there's, you know, in-betweens. And then as they pick more and more, I'm flipping down and pushing to the good column a little bit more characters, et cetera, et cetera. In Duel, you don't have that sort of situation, so you're just going to pick what's good. I like this a lot in Duel. Thumbs up. Conquest change, cool. Items. Envenomed Executioner. This item seems really good. Everybody buys this all the time. We're happy that hunters feel like they are more readily able to opt into anti-heal should they need it. The speed at which it provides a strong debuff was too high. Anti-heal and anti-shield effects now stack. 4 stacks. 10% anti-heal per stack, 40. 12.5% anti-shield per stack, 50. Cool. Mannequin Scepter and Mannequin Mace. Mannequin starters have always felt a far bit behind its jungle counterparts in terms of sustain, true, which despite its very aggressive passive, made it very lackluster. We are adjusting the way Mannequin users get their sustain, but it will still be less than its competitors. That's good. This is important. Mannequin Scepter should be less sustained than its competitors because that's the trade-off. Like, you hit harder, you're scarier. But as a result, you really only get a couple of shots. You get less opportunities than characters that are able to sustain themselves throughout the jungle. It always heals, regardless if the burn was applied. This is good. I really like this change because whether this change affects how this change affects the level of sustain is relevant and important, and that's why they adjusted it to begin with. But the idea, the way Mannequin Scepter used to work was when you kill the mob, if it had a burn applied to it, you would receive mana back. It's unnecessary complication. Why are you doing all that? You don't need to do all that. So getting rid of that complication is cool. And in exchange, it gets a little bit more sustain. Cool. Thumbs up. Wing Shard. Decreased cooldown from 120 to 90 seconds. Thumbs up. Like it. Vision Shard. Same deal. Cool. I bought Wing Shard once when I was playing solo lane against a character with heavy slows. I think it was like a Surtur or a Zhang Kui or something. Somebody that, like, I want to run out of their circle. I don't think this is good. Hunters are just going to have to go Golden Bow. I think a world that will get hunters off of Golden Bone is I feel like Golden Bone is sort of the way I feel about Teleport, where, like, I don't love Teleport. I find Teleport a liability, especially in the late game. Yes, it gives you an extra life. Like, there are ways to use Teleport well, and good players will do that. I find it hard to argue that Teleport is better than a team fight relic. Depending on your composition, sure. But wouldn't you rather have a shell or a slow button or even like a bracer? Like, you know what I mean? And when it comes to Golden Bone, I feel like it's just necessary for early game clear. If I am able to clear the wave without it, if it doesn't alleviate any of my clear, then I might look to a different shard. But I find that if very hard to arrive at. It's tough to imagine a world where I don't want Golden Bone. So I don't think this change is directed at hunters. A lot of times people take issue with static items. Hunter builds Golden Bone every single time. If you don't buy Golden Bone, people are going to say you're trolling. Is that a problem? Usually people think yes. Because it's like the shards are like early game, not super consequent. It's not that they're not consequent. It's not that they're inconsequential. It's that they are. You're just gonna buy a real relic later on. I don't really care that hunters only buy Golden Bone. That is not like a symptom that needs fixing for me. Inbound, thank you so much for the raid. Appreciate you guys. What's going on? It's me, ya boy. We are doing patch notes. We just started doing patch notes, so welcome. If you don't know me, I'm F. I used to cast Smite. I still do cast Smite XD. Cast a lot of other games. We stream here every day. So yeah, we're fucking starting our patch notes. Obviously, we skipped everything that doesn't matter, like Domination and Duel, and we've arrived here at Conquest. Green Executioner has gotten a adjustment. Who kid? In Bode. In Bruges. Nah, thank you so much, Bobby. If I can't imagine that there are any people in this chat that didn't know who Inbound was, but if you don't know Inbound, Bobby, pro level support player, did some commentary at the Smite World Championship. I hate the phrase glazing. I really do. Not to glaze, but very smart guy when it comes to this sort of thing. The theory of the game. He knows what he's doing. Shout out to the Bobby builds. I'm not joking, by the way. And I've defended the Bobby builds in the past. You got to do the math. If I'm over a CDR cap, is the passive I'm getting more valuable than the stats that I'm losing? And the answer is fucking yes. Executioner gets a little bit of a shift. Don't care. Mannequin Scepter, I like this change. I think this change is very cool. This change doesn't really affect the overall state of the game. I think we might see more junglers go this item, but that's a big might. This is important. The way Mannequin users, we are adjusting the way Mannequin users get their sustain, but it will still be less than its competitors. Mannequin Scepter is more aggressive than the Bumba's options, therefore it's better. But what makes it not be strictly better is the fact that it gives less sustain. That's the trade-off. It's stronger on the field, but it's worse in the jungle. And it's still that way, and that's the way it needs to be. This is a change that AJ works on Smite 2, not Smite 1, but this is a change that like makes AJ smile. AJ really likes elegant design, and Mannequin Scepter wasn't inelegant, but Mannequin Scepter was cumbersome, needlessly complex. So Mannequin Scepter gives you sustain, but only if it has the dot currently applied to it when it attacks. It doesn't happen every single time you attack. So when you attack and kill the enemy in the amount of time that you have the dot on, then you get kill a dude, get sustain. Thumbs up, bro. It's just better. And the fact that it stays less sustained than its competitors is the important part. Wing Shard, cool. Vision Shard, cool. This is huge because Vision Shard is good. I think mid laners should buy Vision Shard more often. I think junglers should buy Vision Shard more often. Impossible to make that argument for hunters. Hard to make that argument for solo, I guess. But I think those two positions should be buying this more often anyway. Buying, you know, government handout. But this will just increase that level of that adoption rate. This will just make it so it's more important. Yeah, like Vision Shard is just the better choice. You and your horny shard, you're gonna subtract 1.7 cool seconds from your fucking ability. Like, a lot of times that's not worth. The Vision Shard, you get a free ward every minute and a half. This is absurdly good. This is so good, especially with how mobile the map is. People are rotating so much more than they ever have. Soul Eater. Even with the adjustments to lifesteal in 11.1, Soul Eater has been strikingly underutilized. F-dot averages in the chat, but goddamn. Every game I have a Mulan buying Soul Eater first item. We want to emphasize its early potential and encourage players to play around the power spike from its evolution. Increased power from 25 to 30, increased physical power on Evolve from 15 to 20. With the blue mask in the jungle, CDR-based, ability-based characters have been more powerful than ever. And Soul Eater is an item that these characters love. I'm not buying Soul Eater on Hun Bats necessarily, but when I'm talking about low cooldown characters that are spamming their abilities, i.e. Mulan, Soul Eater is attractive, but a lot of times you can't go it. Mulan goes it every game. But a lot of times there are just better options. 30 power is still relatively low, but not 20. Like, this is a meaningful change. I don't know if this is a meta shifting change by itself, but if it is strikingly underutilized, this is the type of change that people aren't buying it when they should, and we'll see more purchases of it. If I look right now and I try to figure out what gods want a Soul Eater, I'm, like I said, the Mulan definitely comes to mind. I look at, we're getting there. Arlong Shen is, it's more in hand. But I mean, I wouldn't bark at you if you got it on Arlong Shen, but I'd probably look at you a little silly. I don't love it on Nike, but again, see, and that, I think that's the core, Kleena. I think that's the core, because Kleena as well. And I think that's the issue, quote unquote, with this item, is that Mulan is the type of god that I want to buy this on. Who else? Physical-based brawlers. Physical ability-based brawlers. Raven is a character, like Brawler Raven is a character that I want to buy Soul Eater on. Mulan is a character I want to buy Soul Eater on. But like, Naja's not getting use out of that. Mercury's not getting ideal use out of that. And I think that's really the, Hercules is getting ideal use out of that. Wukong for sure. Maybe a Gilgamesh? But I think the reality of it is that like these Chunga type characters, these Hebo type characters aren't physical. These like melee brawler physical characters aren't plentiful. On a Wheelish, I want CDR, and things like that. So AMC or Marty mid. I don't like AMC. I don't like it on AMC mid, but I like it more on Marticarus mid. It's also important to remember that you are getting just lifesteal. Like, this is just lifesteal at the end of the day, which obviously works on basic attacks as well. So the reality of the situation is this is a niche item, and not a lot of players, not a lot of characters want to buy it. So if it's being underutilized, and the devs know what they're talking about, it's being underutilized not in general, but what this says to me is the Mulans, the Wukongs, and the whoever else's of the world are not building it, and they should be. So this is a slight adjustment of the triple beam balance. Unpan, GG's. And I like this. Pele? Again, Pele's a character that I don't hate it on, but there's probably a better choice. Because Pele is getting in there, Wild Fury, knock up, and then she's basic attacking. So you're getting use out of the, like, Pele's an in-between god. Do you buy CDR or in-hand damage? Yes, right? And so Soul Eater's kind of in between there. This is a niche item, and this will just encourage the characters that already want it to buy it more. I don't think it's going to bring the characters that want it into the forefront. So the way, I always say that Smite meta is influenced by Smite itemization. If Soul Eater got buffed to the moon, if this gets 50 power, everybody buys it. But if this gets 40 power, 45 power, I don't know that I buy it on characters that don't make use of ability lifesteal. But the characters that do make use of it are just better. So Mulan gets better because Soul Eater got better. And if Soul Eater gets giga better, then Mulan's going to run the meta. And then the meta is going to be shaped around characters like Mulan and Sun Wukong and characters that deal with Mulan and Sun Wukong. Because items are what really dictate the meta, because items are what give our characters power. And so this isn't necessarily going to take our melee bruiser ability spammers from here to here. It's just going to make them a little bit more in line with the other things, is the thesis statement. Book of Thoth gets power drop down 10 pow. Since the removal of class passives in 11.1, mages have fallen behind others in terms of their early potential, and have even felt slightly behind in the late game. Many have felt that the build path has been very limited to Book of Thoth, which is something that we want to attempt to break away from. As such, bot is taking a small nerf, while we're spreading out magical power and penetration buffs across many underutilized items. I like this. Static builds don't turbo offend me. I've said this before. I don't think static builds are completely ass, but I think that what I mean to say is I think that static builds have their place in Smite. Book of Thoth is a very specific item. Book of Thoth benefits mages that like mana. Yesterday, for example. I was playing Agni. In Book of Thoth metas, and this is just what I was talking about before with the way items influence meta, Book of Thoth meta means Kukulkan meta. Kukulkan is obviously extremely meta because Book of Thoth is meta. Book of Thoth being meta makes Tablet of Destiny meta. It really locks you into this mana-based build. And characters like Agni who don't need mana still need to buy these items because math. And that is not my favorite place to really see. That is not my favorite thing to happen to the game. Sorry, I was tweeting out my stream. I like when, so as a mage, I want power. I often call it a power battery. As a mage, my first two items, shit, as any carry, you want power and flat pen. That's kind of almost, most characters whose role is offensive want their first 1 and 2 items to be a large amount of power and a large amount of flat penetration. If we're talking about mages right here, percent penetration is less valuable in the early game because the numbers are smaller. If I'm taking 10, if I have an item that does 10% penetration and you have 10 prots, you now have 9 prots. If I have an item that has 10 flat penetration, you have 10 prots, you now have 0 prots. Whereas late game, you have 100 prots, you get the deal. So that's kind of what you're looking for. Thoth, Bancroft, Doom Orb even, these are all items that are acceptable first item. Then you can buy a Spear of Desolation with flat pen or something else. Divine Ruin has 15 flat pen, and you're doing what you want. So there are options, but right now Book of Thoth is just a little too mathematically dominant. Bring it down a notch. Thumbs up, bucko. Love this because, again, Book of Thoth should not be a one-size-fits-all item. This should be an item that you want to go on characters like Kukulkan, etc., but you aren't forced to go on characters like Agni. The other side of the other philosophy here is that you could say you're trying to force characters like Agni out of the meta. I don't know how many characters actively, like Agni doesn't, it's not like getting mana hurts him. His ult doesn't use mana, so you don't need it, is really just my take. So there is like another philosophy where like you're intentionally trying to adjust the way people are playing characters, but I don't like that's not really the conversation. I don't even know why I brought it up. Enchanted Spear added. So okay, cool. So the building steps of Spear of Dizo and these items have penetration earlier, which is cool. Spear of Dizo gets power, Divine Ruin gets power, Cursed Orb. Please, okay. Okay. So Doom Orb, one of my favorite items in the game, is now and ever shall be World Without End, amen. Buying Doom Orb first item has always felt good because it's a mass amount of power, but you don't get that flat penetration. So I'm kind of forced into buying Spear of Desolation second or something for flat pen because, like I just said, percent pen early, not great. Removing the 5% penetration and adding the 5 flat penetration makes this a more, it is very expensive and that's the trade-off, makes this a more valuable early game item. That this now becomes interesting. I think if you're comparing this item to Book of Thoth, I am never buying this item first. Don't watch my VODs. Because Book of Thoth gives me flat penetration. I'm just not buying this item first. And then I'm not buying it later because I'm buying Karen's Coin or Shard. So when am I buying Doom Orb? Now, I want to see Doom Orb retain some of its percent penetration because I feel like with Karen's Coin being the meta build, you do need a little bit more percent pen, Tahuti, etc. Let's see what it has. $10 flat pen and a power increase. 95 power is a fucking ton. You're getting, oh wow, you're getting 35 more power here from Doom Orb. Doom Orb, first item every game. I love this item. I will be sad about the lack of 10% penetration, but it will, yeah, it's still on Tahuti, etc. Realistically, Karen's Coin, like 20 to 30% penetration is deemed enough by the mage players. Your role, I say that your role as a hunter is not to kill tanks. As I fiercely defend crit builds all day, every day. But it's really not the mage's job to kill tanks. So that 20 to 30% penetration is quote unquote good enough probably. And losing this 10% penetration is not going to not hurt. These are relevant stats, but adding the 10% of flat penetration is just better. And yeah, niche case, Janus can now build it and feel good. Janus is a Doom Orb character. Doom Orb characters, I think, I like seeing Doom Orb on mages without jumps. Mages that need the movement speed. All mages want a shitload of power, but mages that want the movement speed. Obviously, being ahead comes to mind as well. Ratatouille gets more power. Cool. Karen's Coin gets more power. Soul Gem gets more power. Spear of the Magus gets more power. Demo Grip. Many magical ADCs don't end up buying many of the above items. We want to make sure that they get some love. Demo Grip gets more power. Cool. I don't have any issues with this. Are mages in general not doing enough damage is probably the question. Sphinx's baubles. Items with drawbacks are inherently an interesting mechanic, but we feel they're holding Sphinx's bauble back more than we intended. This item is meant to be slightly weaker stat-wise already, so having another layer of drawback on top of it makes it too challenging to fit into a build. Remove protections and healing self-debuff. I couldn't even tell you what this fucking does. So they removed the protection and healing. Okay, they removed the self-debuff of healing protection. So you get 40 power, 60 mat. So you get 40 or 60 power. You get 20 MP5, pretty high MP5, but how value does MP5 have? 10% cooldown reduction. That's the minimum cool CDR. It's a good item, sure. Your CDR cap is increased from 40 to 50. Your prots are, okay, sweet. So it's just your CDR cap is increased. Okay. So as a mage, most of your items are giving 70 plus power. This item is in exchange going to give 60 power and allow you to push your CDR cap up to 40 or 50. As a physical character, interesting. This is insane for support. You can get near max prots before your last item, so this will bring them up to 50. Yeah, that's a good change. This is a good change. I wonder. I never see this item purchased. I think I'll start to see it purchased with this change, to be honest. Some god changes. While magical items are receiving a significant bump, Kronos was falling the furthest behind his magical ADC peers in terms of his potential. I can't stress to you how much I don't like Smite devs saying ADC. But that is a grave that we have dug ourselves, I suppose. A small bump to his early game, where he lost a good deal of power due to the removal of class passives, will help him better transition into the late game powerhouse he was known to be. Kronos should be a magical ADC. I think Kronos, Sol, and Oleron are the magical ADCs. I don't really view Freya as such. He should build. I mean, the magical ADC build shouldn't build 4 rings anyway. Hastened is a waste of an item. So Hastened is 55 power. I guess that's low. 55 power honestly surprised me a little bit. But like, you need Demo Grip, and you get Demo Grip here. Let's go to Kronos. You get a Demo Grip and a Telkine's ring and a Cyclops ring, and you're kind of done. Like, you don't need the Hastened. So Kronos, I feel like you want to go like a Bancroft first to get that lifesteal, and then go to the Glyph, right? You get a zillion attack speed from that. Demo Grip you want to go, but it's percent penetration. So Telkine's ring is better late game as well. We're doing patch notes right now, yeah. We're basically talking a little bit about Kronos and his role as an ADC or not. I never like this feels bad because I feel like it's too early to buy these percent protections. But 1, 2, 3, and then like I said, your like Cyclops ring. I mean, yeah, you're building fucking 3 items, but I don't think there's a world that you don't build Bancroft on Kronos. And then maybe you sell me something besides Demo Grip, because like I said, sure. With Accelerate up your maxed attack speed, your Can't Buy a Silver Branch bow, you know? I could see, instead of a Demo Grip, a Charon's Coin, a shard, 20% match pen, 20% match pen, move speed. Yeah, I probably see like this. Not here. I wouldn't put Karen's coin here. Is there a flat is there a flat penetration item that Kronos wants? Is it Doom Orb XD? I guess it's just Dezo. I guess it's just Dezo grip, right? Or Spear of Desolation, not Dezo grip, Dezo spear. I guess it's just this. The Toxic Blade is also kind of cute, but there's obviously no power on it. So I think Divine Ruin, your abilities have 40%. Where's the lightning thing? Your next successful damaging ability on an enemy triggers a chain lightning, damaging the target, and up to 4 enemies, 40 damage plus 10% of your MP. Yeah, I guess it's probably Spear of Dezo and Divine Ruin here. You know? I think that's probably it. Toxic Blade is, I often say that I don't want to see too many defensive items on carries, and I think that Toxic Blade is a good example of a defensive item on a carry. But yeah, I probably go Divine Ruin here. Or Dezo, right? And honestly, if I'm playing in the hunter position, in the carry position, in the long lane, the Divine Ruin is probably just correct because you're combating lifesteal, right? And then here, you buy your Executioner. And then you follow this up with Telkines or whatnot. But you don't need the Hastened, is what I'm saying here. And so, I mean, Kronos builds rings, but he doesn't need to go all in. But that Accelerate is such an important part of that kit. Like, you can just throw out ones, sure, but the Accelerate is such an important part. So Stop Time got its cooldown reduced from 18 to 16 at the beginning of the game. This is a change that I like. I get it. We're sitting down in a room and we're looking at the numbers and we go, Kronos, he's fine late game, but how do you make him better in the early game? What the fuck do you say, Kobe Bryant? All of the numbers are kind of busted on paper. So how do you, this is kind of like one of these things where I'm just like, I mean, I guess, like, how else do you make his early game a little bit better, like ever so slight, you know? So this seems like a nothing change. It's not a nothing change, but also like, what else are you going to do? I agree with that, SPS. I do like to see characters, and I don't even know that he's broken late right now. Traditional hunters are strong, but like, Smite doesn't let you be level 1 life stealer. You cannot, I mean, first of all, you get to lane at level 2 anyway, but like, your level 1 in Smite has to be functional. Other MOBAs, it doesn't have to be. And the classic, like the design of the hunter, the ADC, the marksman, is around the idea that you are a wet noodle in the early game and then you are killing it in the late game. But Smite needs a compressor for that bottom half because you just are asked to, it's an action game. You're asked to fight earlier, and that's a good thing. So you need the basement, the floor, the power floor has to be higher than we might expect elsewhere. Kronos's floor was a little too low, I think. Sir Cat, Despite huge changes to crit in 11.1, Serket did not find much success through the patches since. As such, a small decrease in cooldown on her main fight starter will allow her to get a bit more active. Excellent, excellent discussion here. This is exactly what you want to do. I do not engage without Cobra's Kiss, and the way assassins in general, but specifically the way Serket fights, is in and out and in and out. This is a hokey pokey character. She wants to come in, fuck you up, and then bail. She doesn't turn around. She just leaves. You show up, you throw the stars, you zigzag, you punch, and then you ambush the fuck out, and you hide behind a rock until your Cobra's Kiss comes back up. And then when it does, you do it again. This is a very intentional and intelligent change. Love to see it. I also farm on Serket, so you'll love to see it. Hell, even though her class is not doing the best at the moment, Hell is truly struggling. A small bump to her late game utility will help her with a variety of builds and roles. Her cleanse will have a protection reduction boosted from 15 to 25. Very important that it stays low early game. The difference between 7.5 and 10 is minuscule. The difference between 10 and 15 is noticeable. And then 12.5 to 20 is huge. 15 to 25 is huge. Late game, this becomes big. This is also the last ability that you're maxing, most likely. You're maxing your 1, you're maxing your 3, so you're not seeing the 20 and 25 where it really hits heavy until minute 20 plus. Until minute 15 plus. Cool. I like it. Keeps tank meta at bay. Thumbs up. Hell support plus 50% CDR gonna go nuts. We'll see. I like this change. Hell can be really oppressive to play against, so you gotta be careful with her. This is the type of change that allows her to be offensive and lures her into the clutches of the enemy team. Hell should play in the middle of the team fight. She should be using her powerful abilities to harm and heal. When Hell sucks to play against, she sits in the back, smokes a cigarette, and heals her team to full all the time. You go and engage, you lose the fight, you take a step back before it's all over, Hell heals you up, and then you guys go back in. That sucks. Hinder, buff, now I actively... How many people use their fucking Dark Stance too? Now, you better hit that fucking 2. 25 prots is big. This is, again, this strikes me as a Serket play. This is an attempt to change the way that you play the character. This should make Hell players look for that Dark Stance 2 more often, meaning they will be 1 GCD away from their heals more often, meaning that they will be closer to their opponent in an attempt to land that 2 more often, meaning that while Hell will still be able to heal her team and do the thing, she'll be in a more dangerous position. I like this choice. Guan Yu. When it comes down to it, though Guan Yu's healing ability is quite good when he's surrounded by his team, by himself in the laning phase, it really isn't much sustain, even with the bump from his passive. By adjusting it upwards, we're hoping he's able to better match the pressure other warriors bring to the table. Conviction. Increase healing from 20 to 40, 40 to 60, 60 to 80, sure. So it's just a 20, it's plus 20. Thumbs up, dude. Yeah, Guan heal feels like dog shit until it feels okay. It never feels great. I don't think this will ever make it feel great, but I think this will avoid it from feeling like dog shit. Cool. Bucko. The party is back in action, though Bacchus is an early game machine. He gets a bit too tipsy towards the end of the battle. We want to make sure that when he's committing to his fight, his enemies will feel it. Belly flop gets its damage increased. In the late stages, I don't really love this. I mean, this is minimal, so like, who cares? 20 damage is not nothing. Like this is this, you know, I don't know that I agree that Bacchus needs more of this. Changing or increasing the amount of protections or magical power that he gets on Chug is scary, and that's also not his identity. Bacchus' identity is belly flop, intoxicate. That's his identity. Bacchus's USP, his unique selling point, is burst support. That's his job. Boing, pff, boing, pff. That's his whole job. That's what he does. That is his identity. And so this is playing directly into that identity. So in that regard, philosophically, I like the change. Is Bacchus underutilized because he doesn't Bacchus hard enough? Again, F.average in the chat. At an average gold level of play, anecdotally, no. At a competitive level of play, perhaps. But I think that aggressive support play is just punished much more efficiently and effectively at a higher level of play. This might be the type of change that makes the difference between the full all-in Bacchus initiate, team follow-up, and then Bacchus dies under the tower and the opposing team runs away with 10 HP. This might be that difference, and this is that sort of change that alleviates that. This is one that I don't like on the surface. Opt to trust the devs. They did their homework and saw that Bacchus is losing engagements by a hair of HP, and this is the change. He gets a bee's dick worth of damage, and good enough. We'll see. In my gold games, he gets picked every game. Quality of life god adjustments. Okay, so quality of life. Let's get nerdy and annoying. What does quality of life mean? What is a quality of life change? Quality of life is very rarely a power adjustment. Sometimes it is, but every single time you change a character, you are improving the quality of life, right? If you fucking make my favorite god better, my life quality has improved. That's not what a quality of life change is. A quality of life change is a change that doesn't really affect the balance state of the game, but instead makes a character feel better to play, sands down some of the rough edges. Things like Scylla Ultimate now has a lot of our ultimates, like Scylla Ultimate and things like that. A lot of these abilities have like a circle around you that counts down to show when your ultimate's going to end. Technically, that is a buff. Technically, that is an improvement to the character overall. Technically, it makes the character easier to pilot. Realistically, the ult's not hitting harder. In actuality, she's not moving faster. When you play the game, she did not get stronger. But she feels better to play because of it. That is a quality of life upgrade. Some of these changes, the Odin change was teased. That's just a buff. That is a change to the way the character is. It's not a quality of life change. None of this matters, by the way. This is me being a pedantic piece of garbage. Absolutely will own that. I know that. But that's my preamble on QOL changes in games. One of our goals for 11.3 is to give a large number of gods quality of life or otherwise exciting updates. Our number one priority is that the adjusted characters have a more exciting gameplay loop, a new tool for their kit, or just generally feel better to play. Some of these changes are intentionally vague or subtle, so we highly recommend trying out the changes of the PTS and comparing them to the live client to get the better gist of them. Okay. It's spelled both ways. Is it? Ah. Gist is a noun, meaning essence or main idea. It's always preceded by the definite article the. You can't say a gist. In legal context, gist is used to refer to the grounds of a legal action. Gist with a J is sometimes mistakenly used instead of gist with a G. However, gist with a J is not a real word. It should be avoided. That's what I thought. Unplayable game. We completely understand that some of these changes will have big impacts on balance, or that some of these gods are perceived to already be good and don't need more buffs. We're keeping a very close eye on these changes and are fully prepared to be more heavy-handed with nerfs if some gods need them for bonus balance. This is a good statement. You shouldn't want to not make new cool things because characters are already strong. You should add new cool things and adjust the power after the fact, right? Sure. We also plan to continue to do periodic QL passes like this in the future, so we would love to hear community suggestions and what you are most excited about. Chiron. Chiron can fire basic arrows during Giddy Up, so why not his masterful shot arrows as well? New stream segment, quality life or nah? Is this a quality of life change? I say, sure. This is, I think, a quality of life change. You are able to do, this is more of a buff than the Scylla example that I get. Like, the Scylla example is the pure quality of life change. This is the pure, it makes it better to play, but it didn't buff the character change. That is the pure Icelandic definition of quality of life change. This quality of life change is sort of what I was alluding to, where like sometimes it can be a slight power shift. And that's how I feel about this one. This is a quality of life change. It is technically ever so specifically an outright buff. It does allow the character to do something that he wasn't able to do before. It does enable more damage than was enabled before, more damage in a shorter amount of time than was allowed to happen before. Yes, but it's not even minuscule. Masterful shot, that's going to do a lot of that. But I do consider this quality of life. You think it's a fire change? It adds tech to Chiron. It does, and I'll tell you why. Is it something that the concept should have allowed anyway? I think so. Two things. One, I don't know, but you always have to wonder about technical limitation. Being able to cast while casting is an intricacy, and maybe they weren't able to do it and now they can. I don't know. Making shit up, tossing it out there. But should it have always been able to do that? That's a valid question. Sure. I don't think it's poor to think that you, like, you know, the iteration of Chiron that you're not able to masterful shot with during your dash is fine. I think that's neat. It creates a different gameplay loop than using it during Giddy Up. Sure. It's just different. I don't think either is better. But here's what's fun about this. Do you know, and Bert, there it is. That's the thing. Now there's tech. Now it is ideal to do that sort of thing, because one of the lesser remembered things about Chiron is that during his Giddy Up, he's getting 50 fucking power at level 20. Giddy Up is the last ability you're gonna you know. Could you be cute and level your giddy up before your training exercise? Because you're getting what? How long is this? This is a how long is this? 3 seconds? Holy shit. That's like a 3.5 second dash. Yeah, it's like a 3.5, 4 second dash, which means you're getting 2 to 3 basic attacks off with an additional 50 power. Does that, or 50, is that more important than the training exercise? No, I don't think there's a world that you level your giddy up. This is not intelligent. Now that you can masterful shot during it, like, sure, still not going to happen. This is still the last ability you're maxing. You're getting that 50 power at level 20, but you are getting this bonus power. If you're dashing in at level 12, I don't think you need to prioritize masterful shotting when you're level 10 or something. But late game, that will be a difference. The difference between 50 power and 0 power added onto your masterful shot or your basic attacks is noticeable. So, can you use the 2 to basic attack cancel while in the dash? Good question. If you can, says King Origin. Yeah, that's new tech. That is cool. I like that. Again, this is what I would call a quality of life change. Sure, I'm here for it. Centaurus, the firing timing of each shot now better matches the animation. Cool. Kalima, marked for death. Kali can now move while her passive UI is up. Quality of life change. Okay, I came in here real charged. I came in here fucking angry. Thinking that I was going to have to be like, well, actually, that's not a QOL. That's a buff. But looks like I'm the well, actually. Looks like I'm the well, actually. Welcome, Sauce. Through the realms. This is the ult, correct? Reduce the time Heimdall is locked out of performing any action on missing this ability, allowing him to act sooner. This is not... I don't want to call this quality of life. I want to call this, like, changing this is just a flat out buff. Which is funny because this seems like a smaller change than some of the other stuff. Yeah, sure. Heimdall's already good, right? Bert says it makes it so you can Aegis after somebody beadses your ult. Now that's big. So the fact that it buffs his ability to fix misplays. We don't have to argue about whether it's a quality of life or a buff. Like, I'm off that soapbox for this one. But like, Heimdall is already pretty strong, correct? This will definitely buff the ability to fix misplays, and I don't know if that's what he needs. I wonder how this came up. This feels like a change that they changed something else, and we're like, oh, we could do this to Heimdall. Sure. I doubt that somebody went in saying Heimdall's post-ult stun is too high. We need to change that shit. This feels like one that they came from the other side, I think. Little bit, Savage. Little bit. I got fucking handled the other day against this guy. Who was I playing? It wasn't the Shibalanke. Was it who was I playing? The Honor, maybe? I got tooled. I was playing, is the Neath game? Yeah, that's why I haven't fucking played Neath. I went like 0-6, singled out. Oh man, fuck Heimdall. Karen. While Karen is a very recent release compared to many others on this list, we heard many requests for infinite stacking mechanics from throughout the community. While we unfortunately can't give players infinite health, it certainly is a lot of fun to aim to get that high score, which in this case is as much health as you possibly can. The firing timing, sure. Fair missiles, max health gain per match increase to infinite. Cool. 998. Cool. This is fun. This is cool. This is the good stuff. This isn't a quality of life change, but where else do you put it? This is just a straight up buff, but this is not really buff, you know? Like this isn't ever so technically I am forced due to a jury of my peers is looking over my shoulder. I have to put it in a buff category, right? Statistically it's a buff, but like, yeah, you're not really gonna make use of this, right? This is just cool. This is just a fun change. This is the good stuff, you know? Sometimes you just like, a lot of times people are like, oh, why'd they make that change? And the answer is, because it's fun. And like, that's a good enough fucking answer. I like that. When Sobek uses his ultimate, he lurks in the water, which puts him below the ground. If Sobek can simply swim through the ground, why not player mate? Okay. Remember how I said I was off my quality of life soapbox? Remember when I said I was not going to talk about quality of life being this is a fucking huge buff. This is a game changing, not meta changing. This is a draft shaping change. Sobek, my Guess Who board, Sobek gets flipped down when you select Ymir, Cabrakan, Yamoya, etc. Now he gets shifted over into the more attractive column. At best, worst? At best? You could argue that you don't think about Sobek with respects to player-made walls. You could argue that Yamoja and Ymir don't impact your decision-making with respects to Sobek, and that's fine. I think realistically his stock does go down when you're talking about player-made walls because there are other options, blah, 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 but they're few and far between, so if you want to sell me that Sobek, you don't think about player-made walls, sure. But now you are absolutely going to think of Sobek when talking about player-made walls. This is a raw buff. I like the buff. I'm not arguing against the buff. I'm being an annoying nerd about the term quality of life. This should have been way up in the buff section. This is not a quality of life change. This is a draft-changing ability. He's very slightly above the ground. You know what, Mars? You're correct. But he's lurking. One of my favorite that I gotta look at it. I gotta look at it. That's one of my favorite things in the game, to be honest with you. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Come on, Sobek, do it. New Sobek looks way too much like Renekton, by the way. Way too much like Renekton. Yeah, here he is. Okay, watch. Fucking jello skin. All right, come on. Do it. Come on, get down. Do it. Come on, bro. He's got this really cool idle animation. Not that one. That's a... Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's not it. No. Come on, do that. He does that. I love it. Do it, bro. Okay, he's not going to do it. Oh, that's new. You didn't do that before. Why are you shaking like that, bro? You good? Yeah, I guess he's not good. He ain't gonna do it. He ain't gonna do it at all. Hey, there he is. Oh, he did it. I love that shit. That's so good, bro. It's Fuck Friday. Rip Areno. Here we go. We scrolled up in our confusion. So, yeah, that's not a fucking QOL change. That is a big ass buff. I like it. It's cool. It makes sense. So, I think the reason why they call this quality of life is probably how they came up with it. They probably did like a conveyance pass. What does this shit look like? Does it look like he should go under the wall? Let him go under the wall. Makes sense. Easier for new players. Thumbs up. Love it. Also, just it's cool. Because I said before that there are other characters that come to mind when fucking walls show up, right? As far as the Guardians are concerned, I guess Baco, I guess Kerberos, which isn't my favorite support. I like him more as a solo laner, but he's not a raw solo laner. Fafnir, but he's not really attractive right now. Xing Qian, right? That's it. Warrior supports the Horus heal through it? Yes, he can. He can get out of Odin Cage. Horus support. Yeah, there are options. Odin support's a little spicy, but still viable. I don't really love Nike support. I think she's more of a raw solo laner, but I'm not reporting you if you pick Nike support. I'm thinking about it. There are options to be a frontline support that's trying to deal with player-made walls. And like I said, once we open that to solo lane as well, you've got a lot of different options. I really wish that I could. So these containers, like you can type in mage and bring up mage. You can also type in ranged, right? You can also type in physical. You can also type in Egyptian. Bet you didn't know that one. I want to be able to create my own containers. I want to be able to type solo and have all the characters that I denote solo laners here. I think that is a unnecessary change, but that would be a fun quality of life change for the god selections. Loadouts, but with gods, kinda like loadouts. I feel like is more like items, this, and a third. But yeah, I want to be able to be able to type like support, or at the very least, guardian plus assassin plus warrior, right? Because that's really what the use case for me is. I like Hercules is my go-to jungler. Not when I'm playing tank jungle, not when I'm trying to play specifically for my solo Wheelish or something. Hercules is my go-to jungler. But when I'm playing jungle and it's time for me to pick, because of the way the drop-down menu is, I basically do this to narrow my choices. I am never going to pick a character I don't play. Lancelot. I'm never going to pick Lancelot jungle. Maybe there will be a meta where I learn. Like, I'm not saying that he's a bad jungler. I don't play him. I play Hercules jungle all the time. I play Hebo jungle. Hebo is one of my go-to characters in the jungle. But I'm not seeing him when I do this. So I want to be able to, like, select. And the problem is, if you do default positions, now the designer, the developer is kind of like influencing the meta and where characters want to go and this, that, and the third. So you can't have a developer defined position drop down. Again, League of Legends could, because League of Legends says Graves is a jungler and he is made for the jungle and he has things that affect the jungle and he is from the box to your home a jungler. That is not how Smite and Dota design work. They're more open-ended, in my opinion, a good thing, and so it kind of feels a little gross if you type in jungle and Hebo's not there, but he's absolutely a viable jungler, right? So it would have to be player defined, you know? Poseidon. Yeah, I mean, the magical hunters as well. You select hunter from the drop-down menu and you don't see soul. Between Poseidon and Kukulkan, there have been countless instances where enemies have appeared to be in their AoEs but just narrowly escaped unscathed. We have very slightly adjusted these two abilities to match a bit closer to the visuals, which should result in less instances of surprising misses. Cool. Cool. As Kukulkan is doing very well, his adjustments will be tempted with a preemptive nerf. Whirlwind. Decrease scaling protect from 17% to 15%. Increase slow. Yeah. I like this. I like this independent of this quality of life change. I like this just because Kukulkan is a little too strong in the Book of Thoth meta. They adjusted Book of Thoth and they adjust here. It is, I think that's objectively correct to adjust on both ends in this case, and very slightly so. He still does what he does. He is a backline artillery mage. He wants to sit in the back and just go thump, 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 right? But this allows him to chase down less. Zephyr, I think, is where you want to attack Kukulkan from a nerf standpoint. And then this, like, yeah, it just, you get hit with that shit in the late game, you gotta Aegis it, basically. Ymir can see. Ymir can fight. Glacial Strike. The camera is now unlocked while Ymir is firing this ability. The camera is, so they got some unlocked tech. Cool. Quality, this is a quality of life change. You know how you can jump? I do it all the time with On Her. You jump while you're in the air, you turn around to look if they're following you, and then you turn the fuck back around so you continue to walk forward and you lose 0 anything, right? Now you can like, you can look behind you while you're doing it. Now you can drop the Glacial Strike and turn your camera. The character won't turn, but the camera will turn. I assume, is this gonna let you, like, does it also change the, it doesn't turn the character and the execution point, does it? Because that is a giant fucking buff. If you can, who does it? Achilles stun can be like changed wherever, right? If you can do that with Ymir freeze, that is a large buff, and one that I would say is probably, I've called buffs like this a modernization. This feels like a modernization. Ymir's Achilles heel, no pun intended, is his immobility. That is the oldest thing to say on a Smite analyst desk. This is part of it. I don't, just the camera. Okay, word. I wouldn't be turbo offended if you could move like the pivot point. But it would make the character drastically better, for sure. By the way, what up, J-Mac? What up, Jorby? Big Smite heads in the building. Yeah, Chiron being able to do the masterful shot during the dash is a really big deal. Yeah, you can creature, for sure. Yeah. Movement, freedom. tinfoil hat. And let me preface this statement just in case there are like high-res lawyers watching. I have not yet played Smite 2, so I am under NDA, but I have not played it. So I think I'm kind of okay saying this. I feel like maybe Smite 2 will be more open with movement than Smite 1 was in this sort of way. And because we know, they've said it in these videos, we know that Smite 2 abilities are more intricate. I really like the point where AJ was saying, like, yeah, he showed like a piece of code for Smite, and it was like Kukulkan, it was like some Ra's line attack was just like line, shoot, thing. And then like he showed the Smite 2, and it was like all of these variables. So you'll be able to make really intricate abilities, where in Smite you're a little limited. That's why they're making Smite 2, by the way. Part of the reason people keep asking me why they're making Smite 2. One of those reasons is because you get more intricate abilities. That might mean that you can move your character more actively during these abilities, and changes like this might be sort of an on-ramp into Smite 2. Complete conjecture. I don't know for sure. We'll see. I might play the playtest this weekend. Like I said, I was invited, y'all, but I've been there at like 6 o'clock, and that's when I'm streaming. So I unfortunately haven't been a part. I don't yeah, I think I might jump in this weekend. But see, that's the thing, Jorby. I do stream earlier. I just also stream later. By the way, old head Smite fans that haven't been hanging out, we stream every day here. We do a lot of Smite during the daytime, then we shift to other games at night. We do esports during the daytime, and Smite is our sort of dominant esport, right? Expect to see Counter-Strike queues and World of Warcraft queues and Valorant queues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We just play esports during the day, and Smite's kind of what I'm hooked on right now. We talk a lot about game design and game balance as well as everything else, so, you know. Drop a subscription, drop a follow, and do all the commenting, etc. Kukulkan got nerfed, thumbs up. Ymir can move while he does that shit. Scotty. With the addition of the unleashed jungle camps, one of the better changes, IMO, Calder has drawn the ire of many jungle beasts. As such, not only does he steal aggro from Scotty, he very quickly reverts back to his spirit form because he takes a lot of damage. Now Calder will be able to fight jungle camps on the same level as lane minions. What a good boy! Calder can take 5 instances of damage from minions before losing a health node. Cool. Thumbs up. Can't tank the fire giant. Cool. Thumbs up. I like Scotty Jungle. I'm down, you know? Scotty Jungle. Hunters. I've always liked On Her. I've always liked On Her Jungle. Has been an adapting special since season 1. Uller can sort of jungle. Chibalanke jungle. How do I ban somebody? Is it slash? Never say that shit again. Dan Zaboro jungle. My spicy take. I wasn't in the studio. I didn't know. My spicy take. Dan Zaboro should have been the first jungle hunter. But they chickened out. Dan Zaboro's a fucking jungler, dude. Scotty can jungle. Scotty can jungle. First time I tried Apollo jungle, I got a penta. Yeah, well, I mean, even people like you get lucky sometimes, I suppose. Don't fucking play Apollo jungle. Actually, with Golden Bone, I guess Hunter jungle isn't as offensive as it used to be. You're just better off playing something else. Cupid gains 2 stacks of his passive when hitting enemy gods. Again, not a quality of life change, just an outright buff. But I understand why this fits under quality of life, and this is a good buff. Jingweezy, she gains a substantial buff when knocking herself up. with persistent gust, but many players avoid doing this as it can feel very awkward to want to see yourself in the midst of a team fight or objective. I said since the day she came out. By taking down the knockup height for only Jingwei, it allows her to more freely have access to the buff without as much clunk, and don't worry, she still have plenty of reaction time to dash or get a wheelish pulled. Gotta see it. I don't know. I don't really care. This is closer to a classical definition of quality life, although, also like by definition a buff. I don't know. At a high level of play, is Jingwei valued? I can't imagine that she is. My assertion of the current meta is that push pressure is super important. And yeah, that's what I thought. So my current assertion of the meta is that push is turbo important. Pressure is extremely important. There is more farm on the duo lane than there ever has been. You used to push up the lane and then fuck yourself. The opponent would sit under the tower and then you would just be bored. Now, and the optimal play was toxic. The optimal play was to beat up the opposing hunter, and then when you have power, you stand behind their archers and you fucking sit here and you give them the finger. And you don't attack the wave. And you let your guys get killed, so there's less experience on the map for them to gain, and that's the optimal way to play the dual lane once upon a time. That shit sucks. It sucks to get frozen. It's fun to freeze somebody, but it's fun to freeze somebody because you're hurting their feelings. It's not actually fun to do that. So this change with all of the portal papa and the scorpion guy in the lane, this is one of my favorite changes to the Smite map because it makes dual lane active. It also, in my opinion, encourages dual lane to stay as a dual lane. We've seen supports get yelled at on the second wave because hunters want their solo farm. And now here in season 11, I'm crying that my Sylvanas is middle lane because I'm getting fucking 2v1. I'm getting my ear hole pushed in, and I'm begging for somebody to dual lane with me. And that is very cool. I think that it is cool to have two jungles. We've had double jungle for a long time, although we don't say that out loud. I really like having a dedicated dual lane again. I feel like these camps create that. And as a result, I feel like Jingwei isn't fucking playable. Because you need that AMC push. So Heimdall is the interesting thing to me. I don't know why. How does Heimdall fit there? Is it just because he has the incredible amount of vision? I wonder what makes Heimdall wrong. Because the map doesn't make him strong. I guess itemization does. Buying dominant early in a build makes him interesting. Fafnir. Underhanded tactics, the jump. His lockout time when landing has been reduced also affects his transformed ability. Huge. Nobody fucking plays Fafnir. This is a big change. It allows his stun. His CC is his jump, right? He gets a stun on it. He gets a disarm on it. This makes it much more usable because you jump in there and then you kind of like a sitting down. I like this change. I think Fafnir could use some love. I think Fafnir is very cool. Fafnir is one of the cooler characters Smite has. I really like this. Yeah, Rom has the clear. Absolutely. Thumbs up. Tiamat. Generally, Tiamat players would ideally prefer to start fights in flying stance due to its flexibility and movement potential compared to ground stance, but previously, she would always respawn in the stance that she died in. Now Tiamat will be better prepared for any fights coming her way after she respawns. She'll always respawn in flying stance no matter which stance she died in. However much time it took Chaos to make this change was wasted. Like, I don't have a good argument against this, but I certainly don't have a good argument for it. I completely disagree, Pillow. I love Tiamat. I think Tiamat's design is incredible. I think she is very cool and interesting. I actually, if like this is a nothing change to me, but if I was forced gun to head to have an opinion, I don't like it. I think it's neat that generally Tiamat players would prefer to start fights in flying stance. Generally, this is not an incorrect statement. But I feel like Tiamat is presented as a character where her stances are equal. If I'm Tyr, I always want to start the fight in red stance. I always want to body check the guy with Fearless. Very rarely, if ever, do I want to do the 2032 combo. Blue stance first. Very rarely, if ever. So I always kind of want to start as red stance Tyr is probably an accurate statement. Merlin is what you prefer to play as. There's probably a better player here that will tell me that purple stance is ideal to start in because you're able to pull them in, or maybe fire stance is ideal to start in, or you start in purple is unideal to start in because you want to drop your damage and then pull them back into it with purple. I could buy that, but realistically, it's kind of a little bit what you prefer and a little bit what the situation calls for. Tiamat really feels like a character whose design intent is whatever the situation demands. I don't feel like as a Tyr, there is a very clear gameplay loop of fearless power cleave, stance switch, fearless power cleave. That's what I want to do every time. Tiamat doesn't have that. In fact, she doesn't even have like the way 1 and 2, like ranged stance 1 and 2 don't interact with melee stance 1 and 2. And that's cool, actually. And so I don't, this kind of tells me, the game is now telling me that Tiamat's default stance is flying. And if she wants to be tanky, if she wants to do it, but this is her default stance and she has access to this, as opposed to Tiamat has 2 stances. I'm splitting hairs. That's our job. I don't like like I said, this, I'm unoffended. I don't care really. If I might be a player that wants to main ground stance instead of flying stance, and then I just switch stances in Fountain, I suppose. That's an issue if I want to go into, okay, word, we're getting here. 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 So, late game, you're defending a Phoenix. You're about to respawn. Your cooldown on your stance switch is 14 seconds. You die on all fours. You die in ground stance. You respawn, and you want to go defend the Phoenix. You have to go to flying mode and then go up to the thing and then shoot your shit. And then if you want to jump in, you don't have access to that because it's still on cooldown. This change will prevent that from happening. Cool. However, this change is writing in stone that is the correct play pattern. This is saying, so it says generally Tiamat players would ideally prefer to start fights in flying stance. This is now saying it is correct to start fights in flying stance. I don't know if that's true, and I don't know that I like my designer telling me that, or my game telling me that. Ultimately irrelevant, not irrelevant because of that niche case that I mentioned. But ultimately low impact, let's say that. Ultimately low impact, but I don't like the philosophy of it, you know? So The way team fights seem to move as a mage, I'm not interested. The way team fights seem like mage, I don't think you should change your playstyle based on your class. I just reject that idea in general. Why is it a poor choice for Tiamat to start in the middle of a team fight and then jump out and nuke when she gets in trouble? Why is that the wrong play pattern? And if you say it's not, I agree, but the game doesn't. She gains the most value in flying stance. But here's the other thing. If I'm in range stance and I'm starting the fight, right? Triangle. Throw a guy. Now I jump in. I can't jump out. I'm fucked. Whereas if I start on ground mode and I'm fucking people up and then I get in trouble, now I have an eject button. It's the same reason why we prioritize blink on Circuit. It's the same reason why we like blink on, who's the other character that I hate to jump in with? Set. Because you utilize your escape to engage, and that's not great. So you're saying here, not you, the royal you, Smite.exe is telling me that I should be using my escape as an engage when that seems antithetical to how you play as a mage, if you want to have that conversation. So I feel like High-Res Ajax worked on Smite 2, not Smite 1. You don't have to get Blink as Tiamat to engage in ground stance. You shouldn't be engaging as a Tiamat, because you're generally built as a squishy mid laner. I like a little bit of Warlock staff action, but I'm not going to say that that's the norm, the meta, the usual. So Hades goes in, Hunbats goes in. Wow, I'm using underplayed characters. Your support goes in, Bacchus jumps in, starts the fight, and then you go in and you knock up, you start biting people. You use your tornado, and then you jump the fuck out. If anything, shit, I've just convinced myself that I want to start most of my fights on the ground. The biggest takeaway from this conversation is that I'm not sure that I always want to start my fights in flying stance. And this is telling me that I do. And so philosophically, I don't like this. I have historically never been a fan of changes that tell you how to play the game. And so philosophically, I don't like this. But like you said, I'm not, this is a nothing, like if this is what we are doing, we are having an in-depth conversation about the patch notes. We are looking intrinsically at every single change. We are discussing them to the nth degree. And so in this moment, in this academic setting, I don't like this change. Realistically, I don't give a fuck. Bastet. When clearing buffs, she often needs to use her leap as her supplemental to supplement her damage. However, because pounds can be refired, it would cause her to either waste precious seconds refiring the ability to put it on cooldown, or she would have to wait out the refire time. In order to eliminate this inefficiency, she would cancel it without having to reuse it. Cool. You jump in, you right click, it instantly goes on cooldown because you don't plan on pouncing back. Thumbs up. Quality of life change. Absolutely. Good change. Absolutely. Thumbs up, bro. Fuea, at your service. Irradiate. Freya may now cancel this ability while it's active to put on cooldown. Decreased cooldown from 11 seconds to 8 seconds. Don't like this buff. Don't like this buff. This buff is scary. This is a scary buff to Freya. If you instant cancel, yes. So you activate Irradiate, and then you're like, shit, never mind. Right click. And now it's instantly on cooldown. I see. Does this, so if you go boom, oh shit, right click, it's an 8-second cooldown. But if you go boom, and you use it for the full 5-6 second duration, it's still 11 seconds. Is that am I correct, JMac? Oh, word. Yeah. Absurd. This obviously doesn't belong here in quality of life. This, I think, also doesn't belong in quality of life. But like, you know, who cares? This is scary. So I love Freya. Freya is one of my favorite characters. Have always loved Freya. I've loved this character for fucking 10 years. When they wanted to change her, I was the asshole in the room when they were like, all right, we're gonna rework Freya, and I was like, fucking no. And I've discussed the dynamic of like the design and the balance room before. Like, it's not like, you know, not everybody has to agree on everything, but also one guy doesn't get the complete say, end all be all. Freya was a long conversation. Like, we used to meet every Wednesday and discuss balance and everything, and, you know, discuss new characters and everything. And Freya, like, one day we were like, so Freya's fucked up. How do we change her? And this conversation lasted for like fucking years. Like, seriously, every Wednesday we would address Freya. I'm really not kidding. And when they wanted to change her, I was like, no. And I was like a big holdout. I was one of the reasons that rework came, I guess, later than it could have, because almost everybody else in the room was like, nah, fuck old Freya, this is boring. Bubblegum, like the 1 and the 2 thing is lame, we don't like it. And then well, I guess it wasn't that hard. They weren't that hateful on it, but the thing is that she is hard to balance because of the kit. And so the rework would make her easier to balance, make her more of an ADC, which I already reject the idea of. A lot of reasons why I didn't like the rework. When it got reverted, I was happy as a pig in shit. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my doing, right? But I was very happy with the change. One of the reasons that that OG Freya is hard to balance around is because she's dummy good with her stims, and she doesn't do shit without her stims. And as we've seen itemization creep forward, the jungle shaman camp, CDR is not something you can really buy on Freya, because Freya doesn't scale like a normal mage, quote unquote. She scales best with attack speed, because the way her stims work is they are time-based stims. Freya's stims last for 5 and 6 seconds, and the quicker you attack, the more attacks you will get in those 5 to 6 second windows. They add a flat amount of damage. It does scale 25 and 15% respectively for Irradiate and Pulse. But simply spoken, if you invest into power and try to make your slow gumballs hit hard, versus if you invest into attack speed and just shoot a bunch more gumballs, the latter is going to do more damage than the former. And so you're kind of asked to build attack speed on Freya. She scales better with the attack speed than her other options, and that usually precludes her from investing into CDR, meaning that she has a large portion of on, off. So when you hear light speed, or whatever she says, you run the fuck away, you count to 5, and then you go put it in her ear hole. Now, That's a little more problematic because there's more CDR on the map, there's more CDR here, this, that, and the third. And so that window of time where you can punch her down is a lot smaller than it used to be. And so that is where she becomes an issue. They've changed some of the items, they've changed some of the numbers, and now she is in a state where she's not devastating to play against. You can punish the downtime on the buffs, etc., etc. Things like this, I think, are the wrong type of change because they minimize the downtime that Freya buffs have, which makes her more difficult to deal with, which leads to that oppressive feeling because it feels like Freya is always fucking irradiated. And one of the things, like, a lot of times when we think about balance, we think about perfect play. But you also have to think about how pitfalls create balance moments. If you hear the Freya pop irradiate, which is harder than to hear pulse, but you know, if you see Freya, if Freya fat fingers irradiate when she's not engaged, like if you're doing the fire giant dance, or not even by mistake, if you juke, you like, oh, we're gonna get you, bitch, and she goes, oh shit, boom, and then you walk away, she's like, oh shit. And then you punish that play. You punish that activation after the 5 seconds is up, and you punch her brain. Now, she goes, oh shit, never mind, cancel. And she's ready faster, which is, I think, an issue. There's still a cooldown. It's not like it has no cooldown. But I think this is the wrong type of change to Freya. I do think this is the wrong type of change to Freya, and I really don't like the decreased cooldown. I think these are always scary for sure. What's up, Brooklyn? I'll probably jump in the rank queue after this, but right now I'm running through the patch notes. Looks like we're almost finished. The Hunbatsinators 3, the improved teleport responsiveness is good. The firing timing of this ability now better matches the animation. This is a good change. This is a quality of life change. This is a feel change. A lot of times you have to like anticipate that the teleport is wonky. I would say me personally, land on my intended target 60%, maybe 70%, let's say 70 to 80% of the time. Better players probably have a higher percentage, but I don't do it every time. It's a little weird. You kind of got to predict a bounce. Obviously, this is intentionally vague or whatever they said. Intentionally vague and subtle. But we'll just play it. I'm sure it's good. Thumbs up, dude. Artemis. Artemis with the most ridiculous ability names in the game. Transgressor's Fate. Trap. Suppress the Insolent. Vengeful Assault. Vengeful Assault is fine for the stim. Suppress the Insolent is funny. Bro, it's just volley. Artemis spawns traps faster. Cool. I thought they were going to say more traps. Faster traps is, I discuss often, and we play a shitload of Artemis on this stream, by the way. We love art on this stream. And in doing so, I bring up all the time how the range change was huge. This changed the way the character is played. Yeah, I don't think she needs more traps. That's where I thought it was going. She can now offensively trap. How many times have we hit the Xbox record that clip where I'm chasing somebody down and I toss the trap in front of them, they walk into it, and then I bap them down? Like, that is now a play you can do that you couldn't do in the past. This was a strictly defensive ability. This was a trap. Now this is a deployable. And it drastically changes the way that she plays. I didn't think that it was necessary, but I do like it. I do enjoy it. This is now further confirming that, because right now it feels a little clunky. Right now it feels like an ability that you should put down prior, like an AMC hive. You're not necessarily asked. It's not necessarily supposed to be used in combat. You can, it's clunky, it's slow, but you can get away with it. And if you're really good, you can sort of tech it, and it feels a little techy, a little gamey, a little high specific. This change sounds like it's going to feel more like a button, which is cool. Give Artemis movement speed like AMC. The Conquistador, Book of Demons, the damage and stun timing now better matches this ability's animation. Yeah, that's a weird one. You do the like, it probably hits sooner. That's what I would guess. Dusa, Acid Spray, same thing. Basic Attack, same thing. Nature's Grasp, same thing. Sylvanas is a little hurting right now. Kernanos, same thing. Brambleblast, same thing. Isis, the goddess of magic, has upped her spellcasting efficiency. Her iconic Wing Gust, while powerful, is often her downfall. Uh-oh. As many channeled abilities have a fine line when it comes to keeping up in DPS and safety compared to traditional burst abilities. A slight increase in her animation speed has done wonders to make her feel much more fluid, and like her damage is able to stack up in comparison. So the ability animates and fires 25% faster. And the projectile speed of the ability. The projectile speed of the ability increase, I think this is huge. Also, this is a buff. This isn't a quality of life change. However, players have a hard time internalizing how this is a buff. When you see Kraken does 50 damage more, you go, cool, buff. When you see Kraken has 15 seconds lower cooldown, you go, cool, buff. When you see animation speed, it's harder to quantify. We have, 100 turbo Smite nerds in here, so not for you. But for a lot of more casual folks, these types of buffs are harder to understand. So this is the type of thing that I think technically is a buff, but sure. Put in the quality of life change. Super good. ESET needs these changes. Love it. She is a little outdated. Terra has always had an awkward early game, as her dash really unlocks the rest of the potential in her kit, obviously. As such, she has frequently needed adjustments to help her early game, despite being touted as an extremely strong late game selection. With this adjustment, we are now able to allow players to use the exciting parts of Terra's kit, while also feeling freer to put more emphasis into her specialization. I put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. So Force of Nature. Terra now has access to this ability from level 1. I love this change. Huge buff, but I love this change. It deals no damage unless you put a point in it. The ability has a 20-second cooldown unless you have a point in it. The mana cost between ranks is unchanged. Love this. So you could now dash through your fucking... you could now activate the monolith. I love this. I think it's a big deal. I think it's a big deal. She's playable at level 1. She wasn't playable at level 1 before. Cool. I like this a lot as well. Cthulhu, the Great Dreamer. That was an awful one. We won't do it again. Maybe one giant intimidating creature, but we don't want to equate size with sluggishness and clunk. One of Cthulhu's greatest weaknesses is the speed at which his abilities take to get going, and it still will be. However, we wanted to allow Cthulhu players to have more agency over their combo potential, which has felt like a breath of fresh air for this hulking horror in our playtesting. The Mire. Cthulhu no longer channels, meaning the portal will grow and fire on its own. Cthulhu's cast time. Again, this might be the most egregious besides the Freya, the Sobek and the Freya thing are not quality of life changes. This is a buff, but a quality of life, like I can buy that sale. This is just a fucking huge ass buff. It's just a huge ass buff. I don't hate it, I guess. Oh. Oh. Ah. There we go. We're no longer dissecting quality of life. Cool. Yeah, these are major god changes. Thumbs up. Terra, the mind. Yeah, okay. Agni's here to bring the heat. The adjustment is intended to improve the flow of his kit, making him feel more fluid and modern. Though Agni is a Smite classic, we want to be opening to revisiting them when it feels appropriate. He is still significantly slowed while casting, so we truly believe that this will feel very similar to how he is now for enemies, while significantly improving the experience for those playing him. Cool. This is important, by the way. I didn't like the idea of having him just run around like a jackass. The fact that he's slowed 50% is cool. And again, I think this is just a modernization. It feels clunky to have the mini stun. I like the mini stun. But this probably does just feel better. Probably just feels better. So Cthulhu's cast time is reduced by approximately 75%. I don't think they're referring to the way the portal expands and grows. I think that this will expand and grow on the same amount of time that it does right now. I think the 75% reduction is to his, like, the animation cast. He's going to go whoomp and be ready to fight, as opposed to sit there and do this, and that'll be 75% shorter than it used to be, I think is what they're saying. Zeus. At last, one of the most popular Zeus suggestions is finally here. Okay, never mind. Players have been asking for, I thought the stun was coming back. Players have been asking for more control over their shield cooldown and positioning, so we are finally excited. We are excited to be able to finally provide. Additionally, hitting the Aegis throw will now grant a charge as a thematic adjustment. That's good. As all of Zeus's other lightning attacks do. We understand that this will increase the consistency of his combo, so we're keeping a close eye on the change will be affecting his and how this change will be affecting his overall damage output, as well as his other more standard stats. Chain lightning, it's faster. Aegis assault, he can refire it when it's active to put it on cooldown, so he can toss it and then he can pull it back. Cool. Anybody hit by the initial shield damage also gains a charge. It would be overpowered if it gave me a stack on the pullback, right? Does Smite have an ability like this? It almost certainly does, where you throw something and then you recall it to your hand. Not quite Thor Hammer, but similarly. Pele 1. Boom. There it is. That's the one I'm thinking of. Would it suck if you... Atlas as well, yeah. Would it suck if on the comeback also gave you a charge? They probably tested that, to be honest with you. It's probably just overpowered because, yeah. But I like this. Again, additionally, hitting the Aegis throw will now grant a charge as a thematic adjustment. Just hitting people with Zeus shit should give you a charge. Does it make him better? Is it a buff? Yes. But it should just work. Consistency, you know? Odin's Bird Bomb. I love crit. Odin's Bird Bomb is an iconic and defining combo that is core to his identity. However, it is a little-known mechanic that grants bonus damage if his shield is full, which it rarely ever is, especially in lane. As such, we want to give Odin a more reasonable and consistent way to access this potential damage. Good thesis statement. Additionally, we have felt that over the years in general, Odin's third ability rework has been good for the overall consistency of the kit. However, one thing that has stood out is how infrequently the second rune is used. As such, we are cutting out the middle rune, giving him a much more clean and concise ability. What is it? It's attack speed, homing, and stun, and now it's just attack speed and stun. So it always deals the bonus damage if it's active when Odin lands from... Sure. Oh, so Odin's just going to do more fucking damage. And then Gungnir's Might. It no longer has a second rune, which would cause Odin's Spear to home onto enemy gods. The ability now only pulses twice, which either provides the attack speed buff or the stun when the spear is thrown. The total damage from the pulse has been split evenly among the two. The spear now provides minion knockback. The firing timing of the spear, sure. This is a buff. Just a flat buff. I liked the idea of the stun being later in the harder to access. I like that idea. You could sell me that it simply is unneeded, right? This might be, I feel like this is how I pitch an idea. I go, all right, if he uses it right away, it's an attack speed. But if he waits and he charges it up, it's a stun. And then we play it and the stun is too easy to get to. And so we add a second stage. That means you have to wait until you charge it up to that third phase to get that stun. And now that's no longer needed. Like, I'm down. Sure. Arachne. Well, Arachne was a recipient of past spicy changes. We wanted to revisit our adjustments because we felt we could make the ability even more intuitive. As such, we reverted back to requiring 3 successful basic attacks on a single target, but have further adjusted the ability to allow for non-consecutive hits. So Arachne no longer needs to hit consecutive basic attacks to stun. So you can go bop, bop, hit that guy, and then stun. Any nerf to Arachne I like. Xing Qian. Although Xing Qian has received many normal buffs, we feel like his kit had more potential when looked at from a more broad angle. Oh wow, GG. So Xing Qian was, I just read this out loud. You can read it. My bad on the mute. But I really like this idea. This, alongside granting will surely allow for some pretty unique build paths and his own sustained tank style. I like the idea of new play styles. I think this is very cool. So I'm already on board. He gains 5 + 1 per level, temporary maximum health per stack, and inherently has uncapped HP 5. Cool. We talked before about elegant design, things that make sense, things that don't need to, you don't need to read the Book of Thoth. You don't need to read the Flare Boot Compendium to understand. Making things listen to rules, right? No unwritten rules and consistency within those rules. I do think it's fun to have things that sometimes break those rules. And this is a cool way to do it. I like this. I don't know if this is like Xing Qian is already like, you know, the amount of control that he brings is huge. This is dope. This enhances his solo lane ability, I suppose. I feel like it just makes him tankier, which is affiliated with both support and solo. I like it. Big fan. No hate. Shiva. I don't like this character in general. Shiva's a fairly recent god. However, there have been many awkward interactions with Pillar of Dawn and walls. We aimed to solve this awkwardness by adjusting how the dash functions. However, we understand that many high-level players will use this ability as a pseudo-juke, considering its damage mitigation properties, so we wanted to ensure that as long as you've used your dash, you will still be able to have that same level of safety as before. So Pillar of Dawn, the first part of this ability, functions like a regular dash, allowing Shiva to slide along walls, but no longer stop short. So you know how when you dash, Apollo dash into the wall, you go like this, you go like, foo, foo. Shiva goes, and now he'll go, foo. He also gains the damage mitts while dashing in addition to when he's inside the pillar. Cool. This feels like more impactful than I'm giving it credit for. I am admittedly less in tune with Shiva. Like, I know what he does. I've played against him. I've played him a handful of times, but like this, I'm not so intimate with the dash. That's just, you know, I don't know it as well. Athena has been iconic for her block stacks, but we wanted to make the loop of gaining and maintaining these stacks more exciting. Right now it works by dashing. With her current kit, she's really only have 1, maybe 2 block stacks if she used dash on minions before running anybody that would hit her with a basic. Now, she'll be able to better juggle being in the thick of things by staggering her abilities, and will be rewarded for successfully hitting reach. That's sick. Additionally, because we understand that Athena is currently a mainstay of the ranked and casual metas, her change is being paired with a preemptive nerf. Thumbs up. So, the dash. Hitting an enemy no longer grants a block stack. Instead, granting a stack of 60% damage mits against the next instance of enemy basic attack damage. Reach also grants a damage mid stack when hitting an enemy god once per stack. And then shield wall decreases slow from 20 to 15. This is probably necessary just in a vacuum by itself. This is what you need. I feel that, Jorby. Jorby says he doesn't. Well, it's on the screen. Yeah, I feel that. I like block stacks. 60% damage mit is not block stacks. I love the reward of reach. Again, this definitely smells like something that they probably just took away the block stacks. Or they probably just changed this. They probably just allowed her to get more block stacks. And that was too OP. And so they decided on this. Because they wanted to give her, they wanted her to get stacks more often, and they wanted to reward for hitting reach. I think because a lot of times, especially as a support Athena, who cares about your reach, dude? Like, it's a nothing passive. It's a forgettable passive if it's not doing anything. So this makes it an interactive part of the kit. And then after doing that, they probably were like, shit, I can never hit her with my basic attacks. Maybe we just lower the... So, I get it. That's probably how they came up with it. I get it. I agree if it was 60% for a period of time. But we'll see how it works out. This is a good change. Voice actors. Not me. And that's that. Some interesting changes. Itemization. I'm really happy to be able to play Doom Orb first item again. I am going to be able to Doom Orb first item on fucking almost every character except Kukulkan, Khan, and I'm just not going to play Kukulkan, Khan, so it's that simple. I'm very, very, very excited about that. Mages in general will get a little bit of a buff because of all this power increase. I like Doom Orb on every character. But specifically, the Hebos and the Ao Kwongs and the Maman Brigettes will really see powerful. So, I don't know if we see the rise of the mage jungle, but Doom Orb certainly makes you think in that direction a little bit more. The Sobek change is Gigundo. And this might be the best feeling QOL change they have, is the ability to move the camera during Ymir's nonsense. I think my least favorite change is the Freya change. I think my least favorite change is the Freya change. I am fine with the mage items. I'm fine with the Soul Eater, and I'm fine with the shards. I'm fine with the Eggsy. This is a really cool change. I sort of broke down how this is going to change the way that you play Hell. It will encourage her to be in less safe positions, and it will make it more difficult for her to always be in healing stance. And I think those are good. That's a good thought process to do. This is a very smart change. Like this tickles my designer brain. You know, like this is the type of change that I like go to Aggro or Lermy or whoever did this, and I go like, dude, you killed it. This is fucking smart. I really like this Hell change. It's a very intelligent change. I think my least favorite is the Freya, because I broke that down earlier. I think her off time. I think her punishment moment needs to be sacrosanct. I think that you can't fuck with this. And I think it really affects the balance state of the character. And she is balanced on a pinpoint. She is so difficult to balance. She might not be balanced. She might be lower than she should be or higher than, but like she's difficult to balance. And these types of changes exacerbate that fact. The Terra change might be my favorite. I really like this change. So Terra's unplayable at level 1, but in the duo lane, that doesn't matter because she gets to lane as level 2, I suppose. But how are you killing shit at level? This allows her to be played, simply spoken. She wasn't able to be played before this. I like this change. I think this is huge. I think this is a large change. You know, exactly. You don't just have to like sack point, like very cool. Yeah, Terra's probably my favorite change overall. Freya's probably my least favorite change. Special shout out to the Hell change. Smart Circuit change as well. This just will let her do what she does more often. And then I talked it to death. But this Tiamat change isn't my favorite, but more from a philosophical standpoint versus an actual gameplay standpoint. I'm like not mad that she's going to be good or bad. I'm like mad that the game is choosing to execute in such a way. But like mad's a big word. What's up, good ICs? Welcome. Good to see you. Good to see you. The Xing Chen change is neat. I mean, it's cool. This is, you know what, I understand that. I think I like the Terra change a little bit better. But Jorby brings up a really good point that he's doing something new. His own sustain style tank. Like, this is very neat. Uncapped HP 5. So, old Nike used to do something like this. Old Nike had incredible amounts of HP 5 on her 2. Does this list change log? Yeah, okay. Plan of action. When did they get rid of plan of action? I was part of that team. I didn't like the change. Barrier formation, right? Here it is. All right. So plan of action. Can I click? Okay. Replace. Oh. Anyway, this gave you 30% HP 5. Just chilling. Dude, I used to buy Stone of Gaia, first item, and just sit in lane and smoke a cigarette. Like, I would just fucking vibe, dude. I would play solo. I used to play solo Nike with this and Stone of Gaia with its fucking zillion HP 5 and like just chill. Like, I used to just fucking vibe. That shit's so funny. Maybe I'll do it on Xing Chen now. Maybe I'll just fucking do it on Xing Chen. This is a good patch. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Fan overall. How do you guys feel about the patch? I like it overall. I very rarely, you know, dislike these Smite patches, to be fair. I think they do a good job.